Hi, we're the Sigma ASMR group.
My name is Kenzie and these are my co-hosts.
My name is Simar. My name is Elijah.
My name's Ethan the MC.
I'm Neven.
Read the book Refugee by Ellen Gratz. So today we're going to discuss the many ways in which our book of choice addresses the idea of light and darkness.
A good example of light in the darkness is when Isabel's brother was born. Her brother was born into complete chaos, yet she overlooked this and enjoyed the beauty of her baby brother.
It also shows how even through all the chaos, something as small as a baby can improve the mood of everybody else.
I do agree with Elijah, as Isabel's reminded herself that he was the most amazing thing that Isabel had ever seen.
We have multiple more instances where light in the darkness is shown. For an example, another instance where light in the darkness is resembled is in the quotation marks, Muhammad took a deep breath and pushed the door open, close quotation marks.
In Syria, Hannah was Mahmoud's light. Losing her took a big toll on Mahmoud. In the quote Simmer just said, Mahmoud had opened the door to the jail and broke out. His motivation to do this was Hannah. Hannah was ultimately a big ball of light for Mahmoud.
Good job. We will now talk about a quote that also demonstrates light in the darkness.
Wherever you were visible or invisible, it was all about how other people reacted to you. Good and bad things happened either way. If you were invisible, the bad people couldn't hurt you. That was true, but the good people couldn't help you either.
This quote shows light in the darkness because Muhammad was fully in the dark in this quote. He said that he wanted to be invisible, and in the beginning of the book, in the middle of the book, every single time in the book, excluding the end, Muhammad would talk about how being invisible was better than being visible and how he wanted to just keep his hood on and just hope that he would never be seen. His light to fix himself in all this darkness was his family. In this quote, he actually is saying that becoming visible is more helpful because he knows that he doesn't want to be visible. He wants to stay invisible. He wants to stay invisible in the corner of a jail where no one can see him. But he looks around and he sees his dad sitting there upset. And his dad is always making jokes. And since his dad got whipped by a police officer, he decides he can't let this go on. His dad is sitting there unhappy and not making any jokes and just on the verge of tears. Seeing him like this hit Muhammad, and seeing his brother just upset, seeing his mom a mess, just really hit Muhammad, and he realized, how is he going to help his family if he's just invisible? The answer to his question was, if he was just invisible, he could not help his family. And his lightness during every situation was his family. Realizing that his family was all sad made Muhammad break through a jail. His light was his motivation. It was he just wanted to, his desire was just to help his family. And his family was his light. That's just the truth. There's no other way of putting it. He was fully in the dark. He did not want to be seen. But his entire perspective was changed by just seeing a frown on his family's face. Now we're going to get into the summaries of the books. In the book Refugee by Ellen Gratz, 3 stories are demonstrated. The first story that is told is about a young boy named Joseph. Joseph is a Jewish boy who lived in Germany in the 1930s. He was constantly hiding from the Nazis. When his father was taken away to a concentration camp, Joseph and his family immediately fled from Germany. On the boat, the St. Louis, Joseph and his family go through a series of problems. Will he escape? Read to find out.
Second story, it follows a Cuban girl named Isabel during the Cuban crisis of 1944 with chaos and riots everywhere. When the Cuban government allows Isabel's family to leave, she and a few others embark on a raft to America, where they face many hardships along the way. Can they make it?
The story was about a boy born in Syria in 2015 named Mahmoud. He was living in his ordinary school life until war between the rebels and Syrian government started. Now with him and his family trying to escape their home in order to find safety from the war.
We are now going to have a live discussion. Our prompt is, despite their harsh conditions, they still somehow managed to find happiness. I think that all of the refugees were able to find happiness because in heart they were still kids. Every one of the refugees was not below the age of 14, which is the age that most of us 8th graders are now. And if you think about it, we try to make everything more lighthearted. And even though every single one of the characters, Isabel, Joseph, Muhammad, all three of them were in these tough situations and they were extremely hard to get out of, they still wanted to have their childhood and they didn't want it to just get thrown away. And to make things better for them, they all did have a companion their age or just a little bit younger with them. Like Muhammad had his little brother, Joseph had his little sister, and just other friends on the boat. And Isabel had her best friend. For example, Isabel, before her best friend died, she never said that her time on the boat was bad. Like, she said, like, yeah, I got seasick and stuff like that. But she never said that she wasn't enjoying it. In fact, she said that she was happy to finally move away because she was going to be with her friend. But she was also sad to leave her hometown. She did say that, but she ignored those feelings because she was going to be living with her best friend and she was having fun on the boat, just being with her best friend. And when her best friend had an accident, she was very sad and her happiness went downhill. She was not the same until her baby brother was born. She just wasn't happy anymore, and it was very sad to see that. And we can say the same about Joseph. He was obviously always very, very, like, in the beginning of the book, sad, but him having his sister as like a motivation, he was able to sometimes have fun moments. In the book, he said he caught himself smiling when he was gonna buy candy for his sister, although that did turn into a bad situation. He wanted to have fun. Like, he wanted to go eat candy with her. He wanted to still have older brother experiences. And Muhammad would always try to make Walid happy. Like, he would do little things that would just try to make him happier, because he noticed that Walid was becoming depressed at such a young age due to these unfortunate war situations. So that's my take on this quote.
Walid really liked Ninja Turtles. Muhammad noticed that one of the figurines was in the store, so he decided to get one for Walid to make him happy because she was sad.
Yes, so Walid was sad constantly, and Muhammad really noticed this, and he decided that he was gonna actually buy Walid a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle figurine.
I do agree with Elijah, as up to that point, Mohammed has always been worried about Walid ever since like the crisis has begun, as Mohammed always described Walid after that to be like a robot and basically have like no emotions. So it makes sense to try to put some like more emotion to him and make him have some fun, not have you depressed or anymore.
Does anyone else have anything they'd like to add, or should we move on?
I think we can move on.
The next TQE we need to cover is, I understand now why they put so much importance in Joseph's sister.
Joseph's sister, Rosie, had so much importance because at the end of the book, Joseph dies for her. The Nazi soldiers tell his mother that she has to pick which kids should be sent to a concentration camp. Joseph steps up and says that he'll go. Rosie is so important because she was the only one in Joseph's bloodline to survive while staying.
Adding on to Kenzie's words, Rosie also had so much importance because Joseph loved her a lot.
I remember in the book, Joseph was very worried that Rosie would be left at the pool. This shows his love for her.
I agree with Elijah, and I do think that Joseph's immense worry that Rosie would be left alone shows his love.
I think that sums it up. I definitely agree with Simar and Elijah. Also, Rosie still looks up to Joseph even though he is dead. Towards the end of the book, she tells Muhammad that Joseph would always care for her and acting grown up.
We will now talk about the other theme in this book, which is independence.
The quote that supports our other theme, being independent, is, "Money had been
tight since her father lost his job, and she would enjoy this treat.
Quote shows the theme of independence because even though Joseph was just a child, he had to step up and show independence due to the absence of his father.
Without his father, Joseph's family was poor, which made it harder for Ruthie to acquire the things that she liked.
We had mixed feelings about recommending this book to others. If you get sidetracked easily, this book is certainly not for you.
We will give this book a 4 out of 5 stars.
As Audrey Tyra Griffin said, quotation marks, at the end of each chapter, the author leaves you on a cliffhanger, which makes you want to read more. Ending quotations.
Continue to say she's always struggled to put the book down. If you think you won't be sidetracked, this book is amazing.